I'm here today because I'm literally just a girl who loves Taylor Swift. Her music, her brand, her everything. I'm a full Swiftie, and I've really been searching for other Swifties and to have a community of people. And I digest Taylor content every single day, but I don't feel like there's a show or a thing that really dives deep into a particular Taylor Swift thought that I have. I feel like a lot of Taylor content is really long form and over an hour long in-depth discussions about current topics and current things happening. And I'm not saying that we're never going to talk about current events or what's happening at the moment with Taylor, but for No Rules, this podcast, I really just want to connect and find other Swifties and make a community where we dive deep into our random Taylor thoughts that we have. So, for example, today, episode 1, we're really just going to be talking about our Swiftie journey and mine in particular, but I want to hear from you. I want to hear what your journey to Swiftiedom was like. I don't know if that's a word, but we'll make it one, Swiftiedom. And I want to know, what was your relationship to Taylor's music like? I feel like my journey with Taylor Swift wasn't exactly a straight path. So I want to hear from you guys as well. I want to know about your journey. So you can send me emails. You can fully type out your full journey. I will happily read through them. You can send it to norulesswiftiepod@gmail.com. You can also just find me on social so we can connect. And if you tag me in anything, I'll post it. I'll reshare it. I'm at Brianna May Peters on Instagram and on TikTok. And the show is on Instagram and TikTok under the handle at No Rules Swiftie Pod. So all of that out of the way, let's get it started. We all had a journey with hearing Taylor's songs for the first time, or listening to an album or something that really hit us deeply more than any of our other music did. And I just feel like there's Taylor Swift fans, meaning there's just people who like her music, but they don't dive all the way in. And then there's the next level of the people who do dive all the way in, and that's Swifties. We know all the lore, we know all the Easter eggs, we know all the through lines through all of her albums. We digest so much information and content surrounding Taylor because we love her so much and her music that we just want more. And that's where I'm at now. But when I started listening to Taylor, it wasn't quite that. So just to give you a little bit of background on who I am and why I feel like I have any reason to talk about this at all. So my name is Brianna Peters. I'm 36 years old. I am married to my favorite person in the whole world, Matt Peters. We founded and we own our own audio video production company, Gotham Production Studios in New York City. We live in New Jersey. We travel into the city every day to our business, and we operate out of these studios. So that's why if you notice that the audio is so good and the video looks amazing, it's because I'm recording out of our studios here. That actually reminds me, you can find the full-length videos on YouTube, and it's under the channel name No Rules Swiftie Pod. Okay, so to get back to it, Matt and I are child-free. We have a cat named Georgina, who we've had for many, many years now. I think we're going on 10 and a half years of having Georgina in our lives. We typically spend our weekends hiking, running errands, going out to eat. We go to Target every single weekend. And I am just a huge Taylor Swift fan. I listen to Taylor Swift as much as I can. And it's gotten to a point where I'm actively trying to listen to other artists because I don't want to be the person who only consumes Taylor. But if I have my way, we're putting on a Taylor Swift playlist as we go do all of our errands every weekend. So when I was 16 years old, I grew up in Northeast Ohio, and I was a little country girl, and that's when Taylor released Tim McGraw, and I loved it. I think a lot of people in my grade did. It was very us at that time. Since I'm only 2 years older than Taylor, it was just it was the perfect way to be introduced to her. And I did love it. But back then, I wasn't consuming music the way that I do now. You know, it's not Spotify whole playlist at the drop of a hat. Like back then, I am a millennial, so we're just going to have to understand that back then, I wasn't working with what the technology that we have now. So mostly it was just listening to the radio and hoping you could hear it there and you could request it. I did not buy the album, but I loved that song. And that was a great introduction to who she was. But the time that Fearless came out, like in 2008, I just had changed so much. Like I'm a year and a half out of high school. I was working full time. I was living with my boyfriend at the time. And I just feel like I had grown up so quickly. I wasn't really diving deep into like country music or, you know, the current music that was happening. So I did like the singles, but again, I wasn't listening to the album, didn't buy the album. I knew the singles, but that was just kind of it. And then, unfortunately, this next bit is going to be quite controversial, I'm sure, to many Swifties, especially old school Swifties, because I'm going to say something most of you probably have never heard before, which is Speak Now. Can't really listen to it. And I do have a good reason why, but I have never connected with Speak Now as an album. It's not an album that I particularly like, even the music. There are some songs and we'll go over that, but really the problem here is that when Speak Now was released, it was 2010. I think I'm around like 22, 23 years old. I had moved from Ohio to Rochester, New York in that time. So I was living with my brother and sister-in-law and their 5-year-old daughter, Maizy. And they said, come move in with us. You can watch Maizy and that'll be great for us. And then you can like find a job, an apartment, and get yourself settled here in Rochester. So I watched Maizy that time that Speak Now came out. Well, Maizy had the album and every day it was like, Bree, come sit down with my stuffed animals and watch me perform Speak Now. It wasn't a song or two. It was the entire album. She had all the words memorized. She had a dance number for every single one. And actually it got so bad that she would try to, at the end of the album, start over again. And I was like, okay, we gotta find something else to do. So just every single day, hearing the songs over and over. She sang them all the time. And I love her and she's adorable, of course. But like, I actually like resented that album for that reason alone. It wasn't Taylor herself. It had nothing to do with the music. I just couldn't hear these songs one more time. And like I said, up until that point, I had been like a kind of a passive listener to Taylor. It was like, if it was on, I liked it, but I didn't seek her music out. So yeah, I had a hard time with it. And I never went back to that album. Like when I did become a Taylor Swift fan, I didn't go back until Mother re-released the Speak Now, her version. And I was like, I support her. I support our queen and everything she does. So I listen to it because I really respect her and the work that she's doing to re-record and reclaim her masters and own her work, own her words. Everything about it is just so commendable what she's doing to be able to do this. That's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort. And mostly by her, but also like the band, the background singers and the producers and the engineers. To make an album is no small feat. And then to re-record things you've done in the past and try to make them sound so similar to what you did back then, I can't even imagine how much work that takes. So to be a supportive queen, I definitely listened. And it was a little like funny, but like a little triggering. I was like, oh, okay, here we go. But I will say, being a 34th whenever Speak Now was re-released, like being like a 35-year-old woman listening to these songs, I do have a couple that I really like and that are in my rotation. But just to sum it up, Speak Now as an album is never going to be an album that one, I like willingly play all the way through or is my first thought of an album to play. And I'm so sorry. I know that's a big hit to a lot of Swifties, but I hope you can understand. I was impressionable and it just made a bad impression. One little fun fact, Maizy was so obsessed with Taylor Swift at this time that my brother and sister-in-law took her to the Speak Now tour, and like Taylor like walked through the crowd and touched her hand. And it's just like a family story that we talk about because my nephew and nieces that are growing up now, they're huge Taylor Swift fans. So it's just like a fun thing that we all be like, can you believe Maizy was touched by Taylor Swift, her hand. It's just like a really cute story. Love Maizy, but she ruined it for me. I'm so sorry. When Red came out, that was 2012. And this is kind of the turning point for me. It's the first like click and shift into, I remember hearing, the singles, and I recognized how different of a sound this was between just her writing style, the way she was singing, the lyrics. It just sounded more mature. There was a pop element, more so than in the past. And I felt like something had shifted in her, in Taylor, and that kind of met me at the right time, because when I heard those, it just something clicked and I was like, I want to hear more. So Red was really like the first album where I listened to other songs, not just the singles. So I really liked, obviously, like Holy Ground and State of Grace and Red. Red is like one of my favorite songs off of Red. And All Too Well, of course. I really liked that album, but again, I would not consider myself a Swiftie even at that time because I didn't go too far into it. I wasn't trying to consume more Taylor content or find her on Tumblr. I wasn't that type of fan. Like, I heard the singles. I liked the other songs on the album, some of them, not all of them. And that was great. So then a couple years later, it's 1989 and I'm all the way in. Like, I love 1989. It's one of my favorite Taylor Swift albums. Of course, it's full pop, and I'm like a pop girly, so I loved it. When 1989 came out, like, I was 25, 26, and Matt and I had met already. We were dating, and we were just talking the other day. Like, I remember listening to that album a lot, but it's nothing compared to like what we listen to, like the amount of Taylor Swift we listen to now. I think we can all thank Spotify for that, because once I got a Spotify account, it was done. Like, I just listened to Taylor nonstop. But with 1989 specifically, I do feel like I resonated with that album the most. Like, at that time, with all the releases that had happened, I was 25. I had gone through, some dating, some relationships, some friendships that had come and gone. And so when the album came out, I felt like I was relating to it even more at that time, with the things that had happened in my life. So just love the sound. I love how I connected to it, and the way that she just pivoted so hard and went all the way in. When she did the re-release for 1989, I always loved Shake It Off. Like, there was never anything wrong. But with Shake It Off, it just became such a hit and it was played out crazy. So it wasn't that like I didn't like it. It was just like you heard it a lot. When the re-release came out, I had a newfound falling in love with Shake It Off. Now I just literally can't hear that song and not smile ear to ear. It just is so amazing. I love it. Okay. So anyways, I have to keep going because this podcast is supposed to be like a shorter version podcast. So I'm a full Taylor fan when 1989 comes out, and I don't really consider myself a Swiftie until the breakdown of Taylor from 1989 to Reputation, because I was a Taylor fan, and then when I heard that things were going on in the world and like people are trying to cancel her, I was just trying to consume content because I was trying to understand it. I didn't understand it at the time. Nothing about it really made sense. It all seemed a little shady what was happening, and because it was that we later learned. So this is where I really, like, 2016 into 2017 is where I really started getting into watching YouTube videos about it, trying to understand where we were and like the timeline of everything. And that kind of set me up perfectly for when Reputation dropped, because the way she handled Reputation was like, there's going to be no explanation. It's just Reputation. Like, I'm just dropping it and I'm going to let the music speak for itself. So when she did that, it was such a huge thing that all the Taylor Swift content creators that were making Easter egg videos and decoding videos and understanding what this mean videos, I am fully in the Swiftiedom in 2017 when Reputation hits. Like, I'm invested. This is where I spend just a ton of time trying to understand it, and then also conveying all those things to my husband, because he's the only person really around that like understands my level of obsessiveness with her, with everything that's going on. And so he's just starting to get all of my thoughts on this. And bless him, we've been together 11 years, and so it's nothing new. Like, at this point, he's fully aware and actually really cute. Up until, like, very recently, I feel like Matt did a lot of, like, listening because he's a supportive partner. But recently, he's been coming to me with his own thoughts, with his own findings. And I just feel like he's starting to dip his toes in to the Swiftiedom. Like, we're going to get him fully. He has his favorite songs. Like, he likes Cruel Summer. Yeah, I think I've switched him over to a Swiftie, but he's much more chill about it than I am. Like, I'm insane about it. So at this point, when Reputation is released, actually, Matt and I are married and we've moved to New York. I love that album so much. 1989 and Reputation, and we'll talk about it eventually, but Folklore are my top 3. Don't ask me which ones are which because I love them all so much. But yeah, ever since Reputation, so Lover, Folklore, Evermore, Midnight's, Tortured Poets Department, like the re-recordings, the singles, the collaborations, the vault tracks, the music videos, I consume Taylor Swift content so much. I watch every single video I can about it. I have a couple of, content creators I really love and I follow all their stuff, and a couple of Patreons I'm subscribed to, and just, I love this community so much, and I love being a Swiftie. It's not surprising to me that, I've started this podcast, and I really have like grown up alongside her. I'm 2 years older. She's been in and out of my life multiple times and in different ways, but I've really had a great time rediscovering Fearless and Red, specifically with the re-recordings, because as like a full-grown woman in her 30s, re-listening to these albums that I didn't consume when they dropped, I actually feel like I get so much more out of these albums now. I'm really happy that I can discover them at this time and support Taylor in the process. Fearless is such an amazing album. I really had a good time like rediscovering some of those songs, and even the singles themselves are amazing. But I love the re-recordings, love the music videos. And Red, I was panicking when she was talking about releasing the 10-minute version, and you can ask Matt, as soon as it comes in, like it comes on in the car, like it's a full performance. Like every time that song gets me. So yeah, I just want to say, like, even though Speak Now, Fearless, and even like a Debut weren't like my top songs or albums when they debuted, I will say that I have been like enjoying re-listening to them now as a full-grown adult. Okay, so that's me. That's my personal journey into becoming a Swiftie. I want to hear from you, and not only want to, like, I need to hear your stories. I need to start building this community. So please, 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 you can tell me in the comments on the video on YouTube. You can type it there. You can send me an email, norulesswiftiepod@gmail.com. You can talk to me in the DMs. Like, I'm really open. I'm excited to start building this community and like understand where we're all at with our random thoughts that we have and diving deep. Like, I feel like we have to start here. We have to start with, what's your story? What's your Taylor story? And then from here, it's just going to be a wild ride. I already have like 6 different episodes scripted, ready to go. And I'm so excited to take this journey with you. Thank you guys so much for supporting. Subscribe, you talk about it, you share it. That's how we're going to get this community to grow and reach more Swifties and hear their versions of their stories. And yeah, I'm just really excited. I love y'all. I can't wait to share more. Can't wait for episode 2, 3, 4 and on, and for us to start digging in. So I'll see you in the next one.